Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. For almost a century, Farm Bureau has been a friend of the farm for all Virginians. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Here's what's coming up on this week's program. We'll take you inside Virginia's efforts to fight bird flu. Chef Tammy has a springtime salad just in time for the new season, and meet some peanut pioneers in the Old Dominion.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from Cloverfield Farm in Essex County. Avian flu has been a major concern for farmers over the past few years, as well as all of us who have seen the price of eggs skyrocket. We were recently given access to one of Virginia's regional animal health laboratories, where workers there are on the front lines in fighting bird flu and other animal diseases. The Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services maintains 4 animal research laboratories tasked with fighting diseases such as avian flu. This facility in Harrisonburg is the largest of the 4. Dr. Jessica Walters is a veterinarian and leads the team here. She recently gave us a tour.
We focused on animal health diagnostics, and that includes not only sick animals, so we do things like necropsies, which are animal autopsies and trying to determine why animals died, but we also do things like food safety, so for dairy, meat, carcass wrenches, E. coli, that sort of thing. Our really big thing that we do here, and really what we try to do to keep the industry safe, is we do a lot of what we call PCR testing, which is polymerase chain reaction. And so what we're trying to do with that is really detect the actual DNA or RNA particles in samples. And so we're trying to detect the virus itself, kind of like with COVID testing, where we were trying to see, do people have active infections?
Walters took us inside their Biosafety Level 3 facility, where Leah Wright was processing samples from local poultry flocks for additional testing. In addition to testing birds, they're also testing to see if the avian flu virus is showing up in other livestock, such as cattle.
We do not have it in Virginia as of right now, but throughout the country we are seeing dairy cattle that have been infected with highly pathogenic avian influenza. We are able to actually test those milk samples through this laboratory as well, so we can do surveillance on dairy farms.
Once the samples go through the initial analysis in the Biosafety Level 3 laboratory, they are moved to what is called the amplification room. It's in these machines, which resemble a laser printer, where DNA and RNA from the samples are analyzed. If there's genetic material resembling bird flu, the machines are designed to amplify and break up the genetic material, making it easier and faster to detect. The process takes 2 hours, enabling researchers here to identify a potential bird flu infection in a relatively short time. With Rockingham County being one of the densest poultry areas in the U.S., the need for rapid response to a potential bird flu outbreak here is critical.
Now I'm setting up, I've got 3 tests that I'm running today. So I'm setting up, each analyzer is going to be responsible for an individual test. So I'm setting up my template, and this is going to mirror where my sample is on my test plate.
Part of avian influenza surveillance in Virginia includes obtaining a sample from all commercial flocks before they are moved off the farm. Virginia has been a leader in this testing since a large avian influenza outbreak hit poultry producers in 2002. The current bird flu epidemic started in 2022, known technically as highly pathogenic avian influenza, or HPAI. It was detected in January of this year on the eastern shore in a commercial broiler flock in Accomack County, according to VDAX. Testing was done at a Maryland lab on the eastern shore, the farm was quarantined, and the flock was depopulated to prevent the spread of the virus. HPAI was also detected in birds in a non-farm setting in Chesterfield County. The 4 labs in Virginia are part of the National Animal Health Laboratory Network, and all 4 of Virginia's labs are designated Level 1, the highest rating.
So what the National Animal Health Laboratory Network does is they are designed to be able to support states in disease outbreaks and be able to have really response in making sure that we are able to support and respond as needed to any sort of an outbreak situation in any of our country's animal agriculture sectors.
Regulatory labs like this are on the front line of defense against animal diseases that could not only cause millions of dollars in lost farm income, but also could mutate into even more dangerous human diseases. As of the end of February, federal officials estimate the economic cost of the bird flu virus is $1.4 billion nationwide, and that number is expected to increase until this virus is contained. Experts are asking anyone who doesn't work on a poultry farm to stay away, and for hunters and hobbyists to be extra cautious when handling backyard flocks or game birds. In Harrisonburg, Virginia, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
Poultry farms can be found across most of rural Virginia, but the center of the industry is in the upper Shenandoah Valley near Harrisonburg. That's where the modern integrated poultry industry evolved about a century ago. While farmers always kept a few hens and turkeys around, a Virginia cooperative extension agent realized there would be cost efficiencies and a more reliable supply chain by raising larger flocks indoors. If you include chicken, turkey, and egg production, the Virginia poultry industry accounts for almost $2.2 billion in sales each year. That makes it the largest economic sector in Virginia's largest industry, agriculture.
I'm Ed Olson with From the Ground Up. Today we're going to talk about starting seeds indoors. Stay with us.
Every year, 500 people in the United States die in an all-terrain vehicle-related accident, and another 1,000 people are seriously injured. Sadly, many of those victims are children.
Number one tip for riding an ATV is definitely wearing a helmet. You think about the opportunity to overturn an ATV. Imagine your head the same density as a watermelon and how easy it would be to crack. One of the biggest things that we always push for anybody we train is always make sure that you have a good quality helmet before you ride.
This message brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau Safety Advisory Committee.
It's almost time to plant your first garden seeds. Ed Olson with Virginia Cooperative Extension shares some basic tips from the ground up.
I'm Ed Olson with From the Ground Up. Today we're here with Heather Venezano, who is the horticulture instructor at the Advanced Career Education Center at Virginia Randolph in Henrico County. Heather, what do we have here?
Right, well, we have one type of container that's great for starting seeds. So this is a open container. And the reason I like this one is it's great for small seeds. Different seeds are nice because you can use different size containers depending on the type of plant that you're going to be planting.
Okay. So I see we've already got some soil in here. Is this garden soil? Did you dig this up outside?
No, actually, this is a soilless mix. So there isn't any real garden soil in it. And I like using this when I'm starting plants, because it's really light and airy. Sometimes outside soil tends to get a little compact, and having this light soilless mix allows the seedlings to be able to grow in a nice, consistent way.
This looks a lot like what I have half a bag left over. From containers, can I use that to start my seeds?
You should really buy a new bag. There's a lot of bacteria or fungus that could possibly contaminate your seedlings. So think of your seedlings as babies. You want to have nice, fresh start for them. And so having a sterile mix, a brand new bag, is really the better way to go.
So about how early before we want to plant seeds out would I want to start my seeds in this open flat?
Well, it really depends on the plants that you're growing. So cool season plants, like your broccolis and kales, they usually need about 4 or 6 weeks before you're going to plant them out. But tomatoes and peppers, things that are a little bit warmer and need a little longer to grow, they're going to need about 8 to 10 weeks, especially hot peppers. They take a lot of time.
Okay. How would we sow in here? This is a big space. Do we just take the seed and just throw it all over the top, or what do we do?
Right, so it's good to put a little bit of order to it. So what I usually like to do is make little rows. You can use your hands and do it. I know when I'm teaching with my students and we're just learning, we'll kind of put a ruler in and kind of put a little edge in so they can see the nice straight rows. And then you're just going to try to sprinkle them in as evenly as you can, because think you're going to have to transplant these into a bigger pot, and you want to make sure that you're going to not disturb the roots as you're pulling them up.
Once I've sowed them, do I need to have light? Can I cover the seed, or do I just leave it open?
Right, so each seed is a little different. Most seeds need to be covered. So you definitely want to cover them up with a little bit of soil on top. They're going to need it moist and warm. So you can put them on top of your fridge. You can find a nice, warm, sunny window. But you want to make sure you can find sun and warmth that are going to be a great space for getting these babies to go.
So after a couple weeks, these will be up. Will they continue to grow in here till I'm ready to transplant out, or what do I do with them before I put them out in my garden?
So what I usually like to do is I transplant them out of this community flat, and I'll bump them into a bigger pot. That way they'll have time to get their roots growing, because you really want a nice, happy, big plant so that it's ready to be able to handle the world that's out there. So I'll usually pot them up into a peat pot or into a cell pack. If you don't have cell packs, you can kind of use kind of what you have at the house. Could be cups, something like that.
Are there other seeds that you can plant directly into those instead of having to do it from the community flat and then transplant them into those?
Absolutely. Usually for these, I do bigger seeds. I think of like your squash, cucumbers, the moonflowers, sunflowers, things like that are just they're gonna germinate so fast that you really don't wanna, this is almost it's a wasted step. So you really wanna just bump her right into here. Get a nice good root system, and then they'll go right in the garden.
Do we need to add any extra fertilizer to these as we're growing them during those 4 to 8 weeks or so?
Not really. Seeds really have everything they are. They're the perfect suitcase. Everything's in there with them. So once they get going, they have all the nutrients they need. As long as you're giving them even sunlight, they should be good to go. If they start to get a little yellow, then you're going to probably need to give them a really diluted fertilizer.
Okay. When would we know when to water them?
So usually I look at the soil. It's always a great way. You want it to feel like a damp sponge. So everybody's house is a little different. So it just depends on your house as to how much you need to water. But I would definitely check them once a day just to make sure that everybody's doing good in there and that you're having good growth.
Yeah, the amount of light that they get and the temperature in the house is going to be different for everybody. And so that's going to change when you need to water them.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Heather, for being with us today. For more information about starting seeds, contact your local master gardeners. For From the Ground Up, I'm Ed Olson. See you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Coming up on Heart of the Home, spinach salad with caramelized pears and goat cheese. We hope you'll stay with us.
Farming is a rewarding way of life, but it can also be full of challenges. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text the AgriStress helpline at 833-897-2473. It offers 24/7 access to professionals who can support someone in need and help find mental health services in your community. Please make the call, because healthy farms depend on healthy farm families. That's 833-897-2474.
Springtime salads are the best. Chef Tammy Brawley shows us how to use goat cheese and spinach to make a great garden meal from the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Welcome to Heart of the Home. Today we're going to make a delicious spring salad somewhat. We're using some fresh spinach. Spinach is certainly available at your farmers markets this time of year. I highly recommend it, especially after a long winter inside and we all need to eat a little healthier. What we're going to do is we're going to actually, I've already started, we're caramelizing some pears. Caramelizing meaning we're just picking up a little bit of brown. I've melted the butter in the pan, a little bit of butter, and I've sliced the pears. We're going to turn them over, and we want them to have a little bit of a brown side, hence the caramelized flavor and color we're looking for. These are moving pretty quickly, so I'm actually going to go ahead and turn my heat off. And then we're going to come back and make a delicious dressing. Now we have our second side browning, and the heat is off on the pears. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a delicious dressing. I've got some white balsamic vinegar. You can certainly use the dark if you'd like. I find the white to be a little bit more pleasant in viewing when you look at the salad. We want about 1½ tablespoons of white balsamic vinegar. And then we want a teaspoon of honey. And honey is certainly something that's available at your local markets. This happens to be honey from a friend of mine. And I think I'm going to add a little bit more. And then we want 2 teaspoons of a Dijon mustard. All right, we're going to whisk that up, just trying to get it together for a little bit, and then we're going to come back and whisk in our olive oil. About 6 tablespoons or so. Now, a little trick that's great for people to do is to have a towel handy to put your bowl on top of when you're whisking. Kind of keep the bowl from moving around too much. You really do want to whisk at the same time. I would actually recommend that you put this in a sealed mason jar and shake that up. It makes it a little bit easier. All right, and now we're going to add some chopped shallots to that dressing as well. All right. All right, so we come back to a large serving bowl and add our fresh spinach. We've got some julienned red onion here. Recipe, I think, says about 1/2 cup. Really, you know, you can eyeball that. Depends on how big your onion is. You know, one thing about measuring in the kitchen, I love to talk to people about, you know, if you don't have measures or you don't like to measure, what does that look like to you guys? That's about 1 cup. So you can actually measure with your hands. No reason not to. A little bit more onion there. Then you want to come back with that dressing. And you can determine what you think is enough dressing. I'm probably going to start out with about half. You don't want it swimming, you just want your spinach somewhat glistening. That actually looks pretty perfect to me, so I'm not going to use all that dressing. And then I'm going to come back to a serving platter, and we're going to put our spinach and red onion and dressing on the platter. Oh, that red onion is making such a pretty color there. And is it red onion or is it purple onion? I think that's a choice. All right, and then we're going to come back and add the caramelized pears to that. There's something about uniformity when you're composing a salad, putting the pears in the same direction, especially depending on the platter that you've chosen to use. And then we're going to top this with some delicious goat cheese. Also available at your local farmers markets. We've got some great cheese vendors in the Virginia area. And there you have it, a spinach salad with caramelized pears and goat cheese and purple onion. I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Join us next time on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
Spinach is able to withstand temperatures close to freezing. It's usually one of the first garden greens available in the spring, especially since some growers use greenhouses or hoop houses to protect the young plants from late frosts. Spinach is grown on 63 acres on 165 farms in the Old Dominion, and almost all of that crop is sold directly to the public or to restaurants. Most home gardeners raise spinach directly from seed. Depending on where you are in Virginia, some spinach plants can even overwinter if they're protected from frost.
March is Peanut Month in Virginia. Elijah Griles introduces us to a couple of peanut product pioneers.
Peanuts have been raised in the Old Dominion since 1842. Today they represent some of the best quality snacks in the nation. And while several major companies process and sell peanuts, there is still a Virginia family tradition of cooking the tasty treats.
The gourmet salted peanut, that product is so good to me. One reason because it's my grandmother's peanut recipe, and that's what we started our company with. And when I was just a kid, she would make fixed peanuts for us, and you couldn't stop eating them. They were just so good, and she had a special way of doing them. I'm sure a lot of people in this part of Virginia cooked them the same way, but you know, it was just something about hers that made it better. And that's the recipe we use now.
My great-grandfather had a little peanut farm, and my grandmother was a school teacher, but would go out into the farm, into his fields, and pick the largest peanuts she could find and cook them in a unique way, which is called kind of blister fried cooking. So she would soak them in hot water and then fry them in oil. And she would package them up and give them to her friends as gifts, right? And people loved what she was giving them, and soon there was like a demand. People were like, oh, Dad, I need some more of these peanuts.
Marshall Rabel is the third generation of his family to help run the Hubbard Peanut Company, while Lindsey Vincent and his wife Scott started their Good Earth Peanut Company from scratch a few decades ago. Both businesses focus on quality and customer service to succeed.
And one thing that I really love is every can has a key, kind of the key to the party that helps you get into the can. And instead of a plastic top, we have a little bit of an elevated feel to the packaging. So you can take the key, you pop open the lid, and then you can get into the nice foil, and it's just you hear that sound, that freshness. It's so good. And so one thing that's just really nice is that we have these tools that kind of go along with Hub's brand, and yeah, and there we go.
Quality and variety are important marketing tools for peanut producers. But so is the heritage of peanut farming in southeastern Virginia, where the crop was first planted.
We have a single origin peanut, which is really cool. We do this project once a year with Elisha Barnes, who's a fourth generation peanut farmer who still shocks peanuts the old fashioned way, using a pitchfork and drying them in the sun. And we buy his whole crop from him. That's a nice limited release product.
I grew up on a peanut farm right here, and before me, my family raised peanuts. And so I loved farming, and I loved raising peanuts. And the way the peanut season usually goes is in this area, you usually plant, and your first planting is in April and through May. And then, of course, you take care of them all summer long. They're like little children. You have to give them a lot of love and attention during the summer. And then they start maturing in August, and usually have matured by the last week of August or first or second week of September.
Virginia growers and peanut companies are proud that their product is one of the healthiest snack foods available. And all the raw product is locally grown.
I argue that peanuts are the world's most sustainable superfood for a number of reasons. One, the health benefits for us as individuals, because they are a plant-based protein, but they're also high in fiber, folate, niacin, arginine. So they're good for your heart health, they're good for your brain health. So peanuts really are just a natural powerhouse of nutrients and minerals.
The vendors that we buy from, they're all southeastern Virginia peanuts that we use. And so even if they don't come from right here in Skippers, they're still the Virginia type peanut and still raised in Virginia.
While harvest season is in the fall, March is when peanut growers and processors celebrate their product. From special promotions to tie-ins to tourism, this is a good month to shop for this traditional treat.
More than likely we will have a special online. More than likely we will have a special here in the store. But we have a love sign that we created for the Department of Tourism that we've never had a grand opening for, because we just finished it back in the fall. So we will probably unveil that then with the chamber here our local chamber, and hopefully somebody from the Department of Tourism will come. We may even, give out little packets of peanuts.
One thing that we really value is that we are still a family and community-oriented business. The Vine, our marketplace, really is a community center, and I think it's something that Dot and HJ, Lynn, and Frank, my parents, really ingrained the importance of community. And so I think that our family business, being a family-owned business, really integrates well with our community, and I think that's something that we don't want to lose.
Whether they're processed by a major corporation or a small Virginia food company, you can't go wrong with a Virginia peanut. Reporting from Richmond, Virginia, I'm Elijah Griles.
We're so glad you could join us to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Every spring and fall, Virginia farmers and other motorists nearly collide on rural roads. Sometimes these collisions can be dangerous or even fatal when a car traveling 55 miles an hour suddenly meets much slower moving farm equipment. The odds of a collision shoot up. Farm equipment operators are required to display a slow-moving vehicle emblem when they're on a public road. When you see that, slow down. Give them plenty of space to do their job. This message brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation Safety Advisory Committee.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.